Hey, hi-ho, and howdy everyone, my name is Shannon L. Shook, and I am very quickly, hopefully quickly, mercifully quickly, trying to make a video here today to basically answer a specific question that I think deserves and really needs to be answered in the RWBY community, and that is, what exactly is RWBYIQ Queendom? I'm going to do my best to, again, try and be brief about this, and I simply ask that when it is done, you share it around with other people. I do not personally care if it is me that relays this information to other people, or other people relay that information. I know that Raijin Rising, I do believe, intends to make a very similar video, though probably infinitely better, for any number of reasons. Highly recommend checking that out. I'll probably end up linking it when and if it does end up coming out in the comments of this video myself. Anyway, very simply, I would like to explain what RWBYIQ Queendom is, very specifically because there seems to be a lot of misinformation and miscommunication and confusion in general as to exactly what it is. A lot of people assuming it is one thing when it does not actually appear to be that one thing at all, and that's a problem because when people think something is a certain way when it really isn't, that means they start setting up expectations, and when those expectations fall through, that is a problem, because then they get mad at other people instead of themselves. So, very simply put, I want to explain what it is. To do that, I really quickly want to explain what RWBY itself is. Hold on, I know that sounds like unnecessary, but both for new people as well as because there's a little bit of a method to my madness, I'm going to go ahead and do it. Really quickly. What exactly is RWBY? Well, RWBY is an American-made anime produced by Rooster Teeth and originally created by the late great Monty Ohm, as well as alongside close friends and co-workers to his, Miles Luna and Carrie Shawcross. Later on, joined in the writing team by people like Kiersey Burkhardt and Eddie Rivas. I love them all, wonderful people. Anyway, it's a show, very simply put, about 4 girls fighting monsters. There you go. That's all you really need to know if you don't know. Point is, it is a series that started off fairly, incredibly independent, with the budget of roughly a ham sandwich that was missing the ham, and grew extremely popular both over here and eventually onward overseas. With its growth, it has officially made itself to nearing its 9th volume, which should be coming out here very, very shortly, having wrapped its 8th volume here a little longer back than usual. It's been a long hiatus, but you know, the planet broke. Anyway, point is, RWBY has been going for quite a long time and is continuing to go strong now. During RWBY's time continuing to grow, it has gotten a significant number of little bits of pieces of supplementary material and adaptations and such as time has gone on. Never enough, I assure you. Please, dear God, give me more of all of it. But it has gotten a decent number from things from manga adaptations, at least 2 separate ones, a DC Comics run, multiple different crossovers in different pieces of media, both in comics, with the Justice League. It's weird, but it happened, as well as in video games in things such as Paladins, Smite, and BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. Anyway, it's had a lot of crossovers, my point. Along with that sort of supplementary material, we've gotten things like RWBY Chibi, a side series spin-off that is not canon, that is basically just cute, adorable stuff. We've had other side series get added as supplementary material to the show as well, such as RWBY Fairy Tales and World of Remnant, both of which basically just add to the lore of the World of Remnant. Anyway, the reason I bring all of this up is very simple. These are all pieces of supplementary material that were added to the show. They do not replace the show in any way. I think probably the greatest example that I can possibly bring up, or the two, honestly, for this discussion is both the video games that have come out and are coming out for RWBY, both RWBY Grim Eclipse, as well as, I apologize, I'm not good at talking, as well as RWBY Arrowfell, one of which came out quite a while ago, one which is coming out here fairly soon. RWBY Grim Eclipse is a video game that was originally created as a fan game that went on to basically cover a canon piece of time within the RWBY timeline that was otherwise untouched. It takes place between the events of Volume 2 and Volume 3. RWBY Arrowfell does something quite similar, though it is made by Arc System Works and Way Forward. It takes place during a period of time that is montaged over and glossed over during the events of RWBY Volume 7. Anyway, the main point in discussing those is very simply because those are really great examples of this, as well as the novels, because they also cover specific points in time that are not covered in the main series, but are considered canon. They are very much moments that are happening. You just didn't see them because they were off-screen or set before the events of the story, or after the events of the story on the other side of the planet. The reason I say all of this is because there is a lot of people that have the impression and understanding of RWBY's Queendom as being a remake or a reboot or a replacement for the RWBY series proper. And that's not what it is. Now you might ask, why is that a thing that people are thinking in the first place? Well, very simply put, is because the first 2.5 to 3 episodes of the show are effectively a remake and retelling of the first volume or season of the show. It is highly condensed down, a lot of stuff is taken out, but for the most part, it is a recap of the original first volume of RWBY. And that is where a ton of the misconception lies, because people saw that, and a lot of people have assumed that's what the entire rest of the show is. It's just redoing the main show, but that's not what it is, and I think it's very important to establish that. What it is it is a side series exactly like, say, Grim Eclipse, that is set in a period of time in the RWBY universe that's just kind of unaccounted for. Very specifically, in the break between RWBY Volume 1 and Volume 2, the first and second semester of Team RWBY's adventures at Beacon. The reason the first 3 episodes are effectively a remake and retelling and refinement of Volume 1 is specifically so it can set up those events that are next to come up in the show when the next episodes start releasing. The entire rest of the show is that. And again, a lot of people have the misconception that the entire rest of the show is a whole new thing that is changing the path and destiny of the rest of the show. It's not. There's a reason it was described as canon adjacent. It is something that is designed to fit more or less completely within the canon of the series. It's not replacing anything. It is simply adding little stuff in. If you've seen the episodes, and I'm going to try and keep them as spoiler light as physically possible, because if you haven't seen it, I do want to convince you to see it. I also very much want to convince you to watch the original, because the original is just as good, if not better, and both of them are worth watching. Please, I have a Discord. Go into my Discord. I will personally handhold you through the series. I don't even care. It's my favorite thing to do in the world. My point is, people have the impression that RWBY's Queendom is a replacement for the original series, or a complete retelling of the original series, and it is not. The first 3 episodes are explicitly a retelling of the first volume, but it is purely for the sake of setting up the story that they are trying to tell that takes place during Volume 1, during the break between Volume 1 and Volume 2. Okay, it is a Weiss-focused side story, which is also why certain stuff gets cut out of Volume 1. There is an entire arc, for example, that is fairly infamous in RWBY. I think it's personally great, but a lot of people aren't the biggest fan of it. The point is, that entire arc is effectively cut out simply because it is not in any way relevant to the story that's being told. It's not because it needed to be cut, not because it was bad, not because anything like that. It is gone because it doesn't add to the specific story that they're telling. This story is about Weiss. It is not about Jean Arc, and therefore that is why this is not a thing. And they even replace that arc with something else which touches on some of the ideas in that arc, but use it more to set up the basic premise of the show, which is Weiss's thing. Again, trying to be as spoiler light as possible. The main point I'm trying to make is, I do not want people to go into this series expecting something that it isn't. I do not want people going into this series going, I can't wait for this scene and this scene and this scene and this scene and this scene to be remade in 2D. As much as I would love to see all of those things, no, that's not what this is. Now, that is not to say that I know exactly how this is going to end. Funnily enough, I, like all of you, have not seen the last 9 episodes of this show, on account of they don't exist yet. So, yeah, I don't know. But what I do know is what they have explicitly set up, what they have stated is the case, and what is very much, from a writing standpoint, established to be the case here. This is a side story that takes place within RWBY proper. It is not a replacement. It is not a change. It is an addition. Some things are tweaked, some things are condensed, some things are added, but for the most part, it's meant to just exist within it. So that is something that I think is very important, because I do not want people expecting things that aren't going to come because we're not going to that point, or simply expecting that this is going to somehow radically change RWBY as a whole, because it's not. That's not the point of it. RT went to Japan, and they were like, hey, we like RWBY. I want to tell a story in it. Can we tell a fun story in it? And they were like, totally. Here's some rules. Can you keep it within there? And they're like, yeah, we can totally do that. Let's do that. And then they did it, and we're watching it. Again, it's just important that I think this information gets out there. And again, I'm sure there's other people who can state it better than I can. I can barely speak English. It's not good. Anyway, I want people to understand that going in, because some people are trying to use RWBY's Queendom both as a weapon and cudgel against the original series, and they're literally just wrong about how they would even be using it in the first place. Not that I would want them to use it in the first place. But there are also other people who simply don't know what's going on and are expecting something else and are going to be disappointed when you get to the end of the show and that thing doesn't happen, because that's not what it is. RWBY fans should be very, very familiar about, hey, don't invent something in this show that isn't happening, because if you do that, you're going to be disappointed, like with any other piece of art or media that has ever existed in the history of time. It is okay to have theories and ideas and impressions, but as soon as you decide it is something that it is not, Adam, Blake, Yang, Sienna Khan, James Ironwood, anything like that, you will set yourself up for disappointment. And it's bad when you're just disappointing yourself, when other people then go on to use that as a weapon against the creators of said show, or the show itself, or the voice actors, or whatever the case may be. That is when it becomes extremely problematic, and when it becomes this thing where you have people constantly decrying how bad something is because it didn't become their personal fan fiction. That's not criticism. It's not. It's you not liking the way the story turned out, and that's fine, but at that point, just move on. Again, I simply wanted to get this out there because I think it is very important to curb these misconceptions as quickly as possible. And again, I think there will be other people who will do it better than me, but I just wanted to get it out there because I haven't seen it out there yet, and it needs to be out there as soon as possible. Again, my personal request to you is to share it with as many people as possible. I don't really care about the views or anything like that. I mean, I love the attention. Please give it to me. But it's not the purpose for this video. The point is to get this message across, because it is very important, I feel. So whether it is my video or someone else's, just make sure that information can get out there to as many people as possible. And again, I can't express this enough. I do not know how this show is going to end. I do not know if they will eventually want to do a second season where they then play off with weird stuff. There's no way to know that they won't want to do more different additional side stories or even adaptations. Can you imagine a Roman holiday adaptation? Can you imagine getting the Stark spinoff, but it was done by Shaft? Insane, and I love it. But for right now, what this specific thing we're talking about now is RWBY's Queendom. This is what it is, and it is important to know that. So, I'm going to shut up now. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys appreciated the new information or anything like that, please consider giving it some love. Again, share it around with as many people as you can because I think it is very important. I highly recommend any other bigger channels that are better than me in almost every way, except for my ruggishly handsome good looks. They basically explain the same thing because the more people that understand this, the better. And very simply put, if you have any corrections to anything that I've said, if I've missed anything or messed anything up, like my words, feel free to talk about it in the comments. I will be updating a pinned comment with any important information that I might have missed or that is helpful. Again, I wanted to make this as spoiler-free as possible, but I think it's really important that people know what's going on. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you guys appreciate it, there you go. Feel free to check out anything else that I do. I do reactions. I don't know when my reaction to RWBY's Queendom is going to come out, but it'll come out as soon as I can figure out how to edit. And I also intend to do more theory stuff, especially I have a video about, Shion and stuff. So, anyway. That's a spoiler. No one knows what that means. Anyway, my point is, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will catch you all later in something, whatever that happens to be. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Here's hoping that we can all enjoy Ice Queendom together as we understand what it is. So anyway, I will see you all next time, whenever that happens to be. Toodles, doodles, lemons, everyone. Stay beautiful, stay happy, stay wonderful. I'll talk to you later.